I'm rather picky about films I see. A lot of films people love I cannot stand. That being said, my movie choices can be pretty small. Even so, I do sometimes wind up enjoying a film that other people seem to hate. So here's a list of films I enjoy that other people seem to hate. Number 1, Star Wars Episodes 2 and 3. Before you ask why I'm lumping these two together, it's pretty simple. They are part of the same franchise. I don't want to repeat the series. I know there are people who say they are true fans of the series that hate the prequel films. I myself cannot stand Episode 1 because it's terrible, even though I did like Darth Maul. But I have to say this. Episode 2 was basically the first Star Wars film I ever watched. I guess this makes it a nostalgia trip for me, even though I still enjoy watching the movie years later. Yes, the film is not perfect, and yes, Anakin can be very obnoxious and act like a spoiled brat in it. But that isn't all that the movie is about. There's much more going on with it, which I won't spoil for anyone who hasn't seen it. Obi-Wan's investigation into the clones and the Trade Federation's feelings, in my opinion, was very interesting to watch. Anything related to Anakin and Padme just felt like filler. I enjoyed watching things start to be pieced together and announce the original films. Of course, my favorite part of the film was when Master Yoda fought against Count Dooku. Some original fans have a problem with this, but it was what made me pick Grandmaster Yoda as my favorite Star Wars character. Going on to Episode 3, I went to see this movie in theaters. It was the very first time in an actual theater. It was my very first time in an actual movie theater, and even though I was basically seeing the movie a week after its initial release, the theater was packed. I don't think a single seat was empty, so a lot of people were there to watch it. I enjoyed the film when I watched it as well. I loved it. There were some flaws in it. I will not say there wasn't, but for me it was a great film. It also exposed me to General Grievous, who was added to my favorite character list. It's a shame his death was kind of uneventful. When the order to kill a Jedi was put out, I was upset, especially when Anakin went to the temple and murdered all the younglings. I feel bad for those children, and worse for their parents. Yoda's fight with Palpatine was epic to watch, and I wanted so badly for him to win, even though him losing was basically a foregone conclusion anyway. I also felt real bad for Obi-Wan having to fight Anakin. I mean, they were basically best friends, or brothers. Kind of wish things hadn't become the way they were, but since these movies take place before the original trilogy, it had to happen that way. Could it have been done better? Probably, but what we got I enjoyed. Number 2. The Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Let me start this by saying that yes, I do understand why so many people did not like this movie. I know many fans of the original utterly hate this film and think it's crappy, and yes, it has flaws. Dan C's actor has less personality than a plank of wood, and the plot could have been written better. With that out of the way, I will say I enjoyed the movie. I think it's better than the original. I'm not saying the original was terrible, it wasn't, but I just enjoyed this film more. Maybe it's because I just really liked the guy who played Freddy in this movie. I don't know. But I found it a fun watch. Jackie Earle Haley did a very good job as Freddy, and I have found him very menacing. He's the best character in the film, and every scene he was in, he stole it. If you think of watching it, at least watch it for Freddy. Number 3, the Friday the 13th remake. This is yet another remake people want to pretend never happened. Same old complaints. It's not like the original. There's unwanted nudity in there. The guy who plays Jason sucks. The characters are obnoxious, blah blah blah. I'll take this moment to point out that the original Freddy films didn't skip when it came to the same flaws. The original had unwanted nudity, annoying characters, and Jason's actor changes many times throughout the series. I know Kane Hodder played him in at least 4 of the films, but for most of the films it was different people. Derek Mears, who plays Jason in the remake, does a good job. He's a menacing figure. I have no complaints with him. I'm not saying the remake doesn't have flaws. It, like the Nightmare remake, do have flaws, as does every movie ever. I think the biggest problem people have with this is its remake. And I cannot accept that remakes can be good because nothing can replace the original. I can assure you, people remaking the Friday was not an attempt to replace it. Hollywood does remakes. Some good, some bad, but they do it. I like this remake. I like the original. They're both enjoyable to me. I like Jason. I enjoy his strange feelings towards Whitney as well. His character knew later. Yes, he thinks Whitney is his mother, and that's why he spared her, but it was interesting. It wasn't like Whitney developed Stockholm Syndrome and fell in love with him or something. She didn't. If they had gone that route, I would have hated the film. Jason doesn't need a love interest. I can only suggest watching it for yourself, but if you do, watch the director's cut, because it has more scenes than the original version. Okay, moving on. Number 4. Alien Resurrection. I love the Alien films. I loved the first one. I enjoyed its sequel. I'm meh with the third film. I also liked Resurrection. A lot of people do not like this one. They like to pretend it didn't exist, and that was real stupid. I don't agree with this statement. I enjoyed it. I found it entertaining and interesting. The Ellen Clon was an interesting character. And the way she acted and her body language gave off this round and silly feeling. Like you know she's not right, but you don't exactly know why. In fact, she and the Xenomorphs have this connection. Well, I can't exactly put into words what exactly how it made me feel. I guess it just felt ironic, given the original Ripley's history with the beings. Number 5. Alien vs. Predator. Why is this not merged with Alien Resurrection, since it does tie into the Alien franchise? Well, it's also part of the Predator franchise as well, and they're two different series. Lots of people hate this film. A lot of complaints come about from fans of either the Predator or Aliens films, or both. Some will even scream to the heavens that a Predator would never in a million years team up with a human being to fight a bigger foe. But how do you know this? When you cite all the comics, novels, and video games added to the Predator history as well as the Alien history, there's no real proof that they wouldn't. If you go by the movies, Predators do not hurt unarmed or sick pregnant opponents. In the end of Predator 2, after the main character killed the Predator, what did the other ones do when they appeared? They didn't attack the hero. They took their comics course away, and their leader gave the hero a gun. They showed the man respect because he defeated one of them and let him leave their ship. In Predators, the humans released one Predator who was being held captive, and he didn't attack the humans. He went right for the big bad. Yes, he died for it, but he didn't hurt the humans. You have to remember that in Alien vs. Predator, our heroine manages to kill a Xenomorph, and she gave the Predators weapons. She didn't fight him, and she helped him out. Because she killed the Predator, because she killed the alien, he respected her for it, and that is why they worked together. He saw her as a warrior, and no, by the end of the film, he did not fall in love with her like some people think. All he did was mark her as a warrior, because she went up against the Xenomorphs, including the Queen. I liked the film. I found it enjoyable. I did not have a problem with Predators and humans working together, and I never will. Number 6. The Black Cauldron. Ah, yes, The Black Cauldron. The unpardonable sin of the Disney Corporation. The film that nearly killed the animation studio. That awful blemish on their otherwise perfect record. The film lots of people seem to think it's much worse than... Well, people think it's much worse than train wrecks like Chicken Little, Home on the Range. Let's not forget that Madagascar rip-off The Wild. People like to rip on this film, claiming it has an awful plot and awful bland characters. It's just so horrible. Like, why would you want to watch it? To which I answer, stop. This movie isn't as bad as people think it is. Yes, it's got problems, mostly due to executive meddling. But it's not the Battlefield Earth of the Disney Corporation. The film has good animation and a rather solid plot. I like the characters, and the main villain was creepy and intimidating. Anyone who tells me Unicorn King sucks can fight me. If the movie hadn't been messed with by the higher-ups, he would have had much more to do. For those who haven't watched it, I would suggest doing so, making up your own mind about it. Do not take my word or anyone else's as gospel. Watch it for yourself, just like all the other films I mentioned. Watch the film for yourself and make up your own minds. If you end up liking them, you are not a freak, and you have nothing to be ashamed of, because other people do enjoy them as well. If you wind up hating them, well, you're in the majority, and plenty of people are out there that will also think so. Alright then, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed the list, and just remember, don't let other people make up your mind for you. Like what you like, and if others don't, and they can't be forced to change their minds. There's no need to argue about it. See you later.